Who would have thought that a simple French phrase would be the turning point in Elara's life? But before the unimaginable took shape, it all began with the merciless sound of an alarm clock at 5 a.m. The insistent beep pierced the stillness of dawn. Elara, sleepy, stretched out her arm in search of the device on the bedside table. Her muscles protested with fatigue. As soon as the noise stopped, she remained there for a brief moment, her eyes fixed on the ceiling of her humble apartment in Aurora District in Aurora City. The somewhat faded wallpaper and a small tear on the wall above the bed were familiar details. Despite everything, that was her little corner, and the new day had already begun. She got up, feeling the cold floor under her bare feet. The small kitchen didn't offer much more warmth. With silent efficiency and movements that routine had perfected, Elara prepared breakfast. 2 crispy toasts, a carefully sliced apple, and oatmeal sweetened with honey. All in total silence, as she knew Lyra, her niece, was still sleeping soundly in the next room. Lyra, only 8 years old, was huddled under the blanket, hugging a plush bunny with a somewhat worn ear. Lyra had her own way of seeing the world. She spoke little, often averted her gaze, and reacted sensitively to certain sounds. Autistic, the doctors diagnosed. Special, Elara insisted. After the tragic plane crash that took her sister and brother-in-law, Elara took guardianship of Lyra, and with her, a life full of new responsibilities. She woke the girl by humming a soft melody, the same one her sister used to sing. It worked, as always. While Lyra dressed at her own pace, Elara finished preparing the thermos, checked the contents of the special school backpack, and put on the navy blue apron of her work uniform. By 6:30 a.m., they were already on the street. The sky still refused to lighten, and the vapor from Elara's breath formed small clouds in the chilly air. She accompanied Lyra to the suburban train station and then took the subway in the opposite direction. With headphones on, a voice with a French accent began her lesson. Bonjour, aujourd'hui allons parler des verbes pronominaux. Elara closed her eyes for a second. She had studied linguistics at the renowned Meridiana Academy of Aurora City, excelling as the best in her class. She spoke English, Spanish, and her passion, French. However, when the family needed her most, the dream of being a professional interpreter was put aside. Now, she cleaned rooms at the luxurious Grand Eclat Hotel, a 5-star hotel in the center of Aurora City, because the monthly bills didn't wait for diplomas on the wall. At the hotel entrance, Gaspar, the doorman, with a face marked by the sun and years, greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Elara. Ready for another day?" he asked. "Always," she replied, stretching a forced smile that barely concealed the unease in her chest. In the staff room, Mrs. Valentina, the impeccably poised head of cleaning, was direct. "3rd floor today. Prepare the sweets. And no mistakes. We are expecting a very important guest." Elara nodded and took her cleaning cart. She knew every corner of that floor like the back of her hand. But today, something was about to change, and it would all begin as an ordinary day, following the same routine with a woman who, despite everything, had never stopped dreaming. The door to the 3rd floor slid open with an almost imperceptible murmur. The soft carpet absorbed the sound of her footsteps as Elara pushed the cart toward the first suite. The morning light flooded the rooms through the tall windows, painting the floor in golden tones. Everything there seemed to belong to a different universe. Shimmering mirrors, vibrant orchids adorning the tables, and a soft classical melody floating from one of the rooms. For Elara, it was just another stage of her daily journey. Mrs. Valentina had been emphatic. "Today, double the effort, Elara. Suite 301 is occupied. The owner is staying. Mr. Valerius in person." The warning was crystal clear. Zero margin for error today. Mr. Valerius, the visionary behind the entire Grand Eclat empire, almost a legendary figure in the hotel corridors. Until that moment, Elara only knew him from photographs and corporate training videos. After an hour of intense work, impeccable rooms, perfectly made beds, sparkling bathrooms, she allowed herself a brief break. In the staff cafeteria, she sat near the window overlooking the inner courtyard. The sun shone brightly on a clear day, and the hum of Aurora City arrived filtered. It was her daily minute of peace, more for the spirit than for the body. Her cell phone vibrated discreetly in her pocket. Etienne, the display indicated. An involuntary smile appeared on her lips. She answered, turning slightly, as if to shield the conversation from the surrounding quiet. Bonjour, Etienne. Her voice transformed, becoming softer, vibrant, almost melodic. He responded with the familiar accent. They laughed together, talked about a new translation challenge, and debated a Prévert poem. Words flowed between them with a refreshing naturalness. It was like revisiting a younger version of herself, the university student before life led her down unexpected paths. J'ai soumis la dernière traduction à l'ONU. Ils étaient très impressionnés, Etienne revealed. Elara's heart skipped a beat. Vraiment plaisant, she murmured, emotion showing through. He chuckled gently. Tu as un talent naturel. Before she could reply, she noticed a movement behind her. She turned slowly, and there he was, Mr. Valerius. Imposing, with an upright posture, wearing an impeccable suit, but without a tie. A man who exuded authority with innate elegance. With a tablet in his hands, his eyes were fixed on her, his brow subtly furrowed, not from irritation, but from genuine curiosity. Do you speak French fluently? He inquired, with a calm voice and no hint of reproach. Elara froze, the phone still in her hand. Yes, Mr. Valerius. Sorry, it was my break time. He raised his hand, a gesture not to interrupt, but to reassure. I only overheard it in passing. Your pronunciation is truly impressive. Did you study in the City of Lights? No, in the city of Auria. I studied languages. French was my specialty. Something in his expression shifted, not just surprise, but a subtle glow, perhaps admiration. And now you work here, in housekeeping? The question, though neutral, struck her. Elara nodded slowly. Sometimes, life takes us down different paths than we plan. Her voice, though low, was firm. Mr. Valerius's phone rang. He cast a quick glance at the screen, and his lips tightened slightly. Excuse me, I need to take this. We'll talk later. And then he left. She stood there, alone, her heart pounding. She looked at her own phone, Etienne still on the line. Tu es toujours là? He asked. Elara laughed, a low, nervous sound. Croque du hôtel. It hadn't been just a casual conversation. It had been a moment of revelation. And, deep in her soul, she felt something had changed, a feeling still unnamed. The following dawn brought with it a gray sky and a fine drizzle that blurred the windows of Elara's apartment. She had barely slept, incessantly replaying Mr. Valerius's gaze, his voice, the question about her French. It wasn't so much what he had said, but how he had perceived her, as if he had truly seen her. She took Lyra to school, placed a soft kiss on her forehead, and wished her a serene day. Lyra didn't respond with words, but maintained eye contact for a second longer than usual. For Elara, that was more than enough. On the way to work, the rain intensified. Her shoes were already completely wet when she entered the hotel through the service door. Before even reaching the changing room, Mrs. Valentina intercepted her. Mrs. Dubois, from Human Resources, wishes to speak with you immediately. Elara's heart quickened. The HR corridor was long, with bare walls and carpet that muffled footsteps. She knocked on the door, which opened almost instantly. Mrs. Dubois, a woman in her 50s with an immaculate bun and an austere gaze, indicated the chair in front of her. Good morning, Mrs. Elara, correct? I'll be direct. Mr. Valerius made a rather peculiar request yesterday. The words hung in the air, laden with meaning. He wishes for you to take on the role of International Relations Assistant with immediate effect. Elara blinked, disbelieving. How, please? He argues that your linguistic skills are extraordinary and are being underutilized in your current role. It's not a joke, understand. Mr. Valerius doesn't usually make jokes. We've created a new position especially for you. I'm part of the cleaning staff. You were part of the cleaning staff, Mrs. Dubois corrected, showing an almost smile. As of today, your uniform will be different. Your new outfit is already in your locker. Get dressed and go immediately to the presidential suite. Mr. Valerius will be waiting to guide you in your new duties. Elara remained silent for a moment, the world around her seeming distant. Her hands trembled slightly as she stood up and thanked her. In the deserted changing room, in her locker, hung an elegant outfit, a sophisticated black skirt, a cream blouse, and a matching blazer. Everything impeccably new, in the exact size. Next to it, a box with discreet and elegant shoes. Each piece fit her as if it had been tailor-made. In the mirror, she saw herself and recognized another person, someone who was finally being noticed, not as a cleaning employee, but as a woman with a voice and unlimited potential. Her heart pounded strongly in her chest. On her way to the presidential suite, she did not take the usual service corridor, but rather the wide, brightly lit glass corridors. Guests watched her, perhaps because of her new attire, perhaps because of the expression she could no longer hide. A mixture of astonishment, nervousness, and, who knows, a newfound hope. Before the grand door, she hesitated for a moment. Her hand hovered over the brushed brass handle. She took a deep breath and gave 2 gentle knocks. 2 seconds later, the door opened. Mr. Valerius, now wearing an immaculate light gray suit. His gaze met hers, and a genuine smile appeared on his face. "You look splendid, Elara. Please, come in." The suite was breathtaking. Large windows overlooking a rainy city of Aurea, elegantly designed furniture, and cozy lighting. Elara felt a little out of place, but only for a brief moment. Mr. Valerius invited her to sit and positioned himself in front of her, with no table separating them, eliminating any hierarchical barrier. "I would like you to accompany me tonight. We will have dinner with 3 French investors. We will negotiate the participation in the new brand éclat of the city of Lumiere. I need someone completely trustworthy to mediate communication, someone who can transition between different cultures." He watched her with unwavering conviction, and suddenly, Elara herself realized that she no longer had any doubts either. Hours later, they stood in front of the Moon's Refuge, a charming and discreet restaurant nestled on a quiet street in the Harmony district. Its modest facade contrasted with a cozy interior, adorned with wooden walls, bookshelves filled with books, and soft jazz that set the mood. Arthur, the owner, greeted Mr. Valerius like an old acquaintance and nodded respectfully to Elara, leading them to a reserved table. Antoine, Baptiste, and Cedric were already waiting, impeccable suits, penetrating gazes. Mr. Valerius introduced her in French. The investor's eyebrows raised discreetly when she responded with impressive fluency and naturalness. The discussion began with formality, figures, strategies, contractual terms. But Elara was much more than a simple interpreter. She deciphered expressions, caught the nuances of each word, and resolved potential misunderstandings before they could even arise. When Antoine searched for the exact word, she offered the perfect nuance. When Baptiste made a cultural allusion, Elara contextualized it for Mr. Valerius. And when Cedric let out a laugh, it was because Elara had, with her tact and intelligence, transformed the conversation into something more human and engaging. Mr. Valerius spoke little and observed a lot. His eyes showed a fascination as if he were discovering something new. As the night progressed, the atmosphere relaxed. Dinner was served, wine flowed freely, and conversations alternated between English and French. At one point, Elara realized she was truly laughing, not out of mere courtesy, but with genuine joy. By the end of the night, the ice had been broken, the first agreements reached, and the farewells were accompanied by visible appreciation for her. Alone, Mr. Valerius looked at her in silence and smiled sincerely. "You were simply exceptional. Without your presence, the conversation would not have gotten even halfway." Elara lowered her eyes, a discreet blush coloring her cheeks. I just did what I was taught. No, you did much more. Arthur, the owner, brought 2 glasses of white wine without uttering a word. They remained there for a while longer. They talked about the city of Lumiere, about different languages and cultures. She shared a little about her childhood and her sister in quick strokes, enough for him to perceive the depth that existed behind her reserved demeanor. He also opened up, speaking of his youth near the village of Hills, the audacity of his first hotel venture, and the moment he understood that success loses its meaning if it is not shared. The rain had already ceased. Only an empty glass remained and a smile that replaced any trace of caution. At the time of farewell, "See you tomorrow," he said. Elara nodded, and both felt that something had moved between them. The next morning, Mr. Valerius had already left. An important meeting in Verbena. 2 nights, maybe 3. He had mentioned it in passing, almost apologetically.
Elara merely nodded. Later, alone in the silence of the lounge, she felt a slight pang, a curious mix of emptiness and anticipation. In the days that followed, Elara's concentration was total. Sophia, the efficient executive assistant, introduced her to the company's complex structures. She gained access to the internal system, her own corporate email, and an elegant black leather folder with her name engraved in gold. Her new office on the 3rd floor was small, bright, with a view of the courtyard, where birds hopped among the bare branches of the trees. Between meetings and translations for the ambitious Citade Lumière project, time seemed to fly. Despite her new routine, Elara remained ever vigilant. An unexpected message from Lyra's school, a call from the home support service, or a sudden demand that only she could meet. Lyra felt the change, not through words, but through her glances, her gestures, a discreet tug on Elara's sleeve when she arrived later. The girl yearned for predictability, an urgent, though silent need. It was for this reason that Elara made a decision to move closer. She found a small apartment just 3 streets from the hotel, a quiet place with a charming balcony and 2 cozy bedrooms. It wasn't spacious, but given the circumstances, it was a true miracle. Less commute time meant more precious moments with Lyra. Dinners, bedtime stories, the complicit silence. The move was made discreetly, without fanfare, without asking for help. A few boxes carried during her breaks, and Lyra's most cherished objects. The stuffed bunny, the soft nightlight, the photo frame with the only picture of the 3 of them. While she dedicated herself to work, Etienne sent short, relaxed messages. "How was your first official meeting?" Or, "Are you still thinking about the city of light?" She replied, sometimes late, but always sincerely, "Yes, more than ever." And, in her thoughts, Mr. Valerius appeared, not in an intrusive way, nor with adolescent euphoria, but like a soft melody that accompanied her in her daily life. He also wrote with a regularity that surprised her, "Verbena going well, how about you?" Or, "Today, raclette with the Swiss, monotonous. I miss our conversations." On the 3rd night, with Lyra already asleep, Elara was at the window of her new home, a cup of hot tea in her hands, the lights of the city of Oria twinkling in the distance. A message arrived. "I look forward to seeing you soon." She read it twice, put her phone away, and finally allowed herself to smile, a smile that came from the soul. The afternoon sun painted the glass facades of the Grand Éclat Hotel in gold when Elara received the message. "Please come to my office as soon as you can. Valerius." Her pulse pounded in her temples. She hadn't seen him since his departure for Verbena. The prospect of facing him again stirred a mix of nervousness and undeniable curiosity. She went up to the top floor, a tranquil refuge, far from the bustle of the reception. Upon entering, he was standing with his back to the door, hands in his suit pockets, contemplating the city of Oria that stretched out like a mosaic under the vast window. When she approached, he turned. "Welcome back," he smiled. "I missed you." He pointed to the armchair in front of the desk, but chose to sit beside her, leveling their height, removing any formality. "I need to tell you something important. While I was away, I reflected a lot. about who I am, about what I achieve, and about what I might have neglected. He chose his words carefully. You revealed to me that it is possible to define success in a different way, not just in figures or big contracts, but in a life stance, in dignity, in the way one faces the world. Elara lowered her eyes, confused. I don't know if I understand. Yes, you do. You found a way not to fragment yourself in the face of adversity, and that impresses me more than I ever admitted. His voice softened, becoming more intimate. I know it's an unusual request, but I'd like to invite you to dinner tonight, not as your boss, just as myself. Elara was silent for a moment. The invitation was direct, unexpected, but the honesty in his tone was undeniable. She nodded, finally, with pleasure. They met again in front of the moon's refuge. The atmosphere between them was notably different. Arthur greeted them with a knowing look and led them to a cozy table by the window. The sky was clear and the afternoon sun cast its last lights. The conversation began with a certain shyness. Mr. Valerius asked about Lyra, listening intently as Elara described the delicate balance between her responsibilities and her desire to finally be able to breathe. He also opened up, recounting the early years of his journey in the hotel business, the sleepless nights, the feeling of carrying the world alone, and the high price of success, the silent solitude that had settled into his life. With the arrival of dinner, both visibly relaxed. They laughed at small anecdotes, exchanged ideas about books, languages, and places they dreamed of visiting. He ordered wine with a simple nod. They toasted. To new perspectives, he declared. And to courage, she replied. As the night drew to a close, a serene closeness settled between them. Not a tension, but a tenderness, a familiarity. As he walked her back, he didn't insist on prolonging the night. He simply said, "Thank you for listening to me." And she replied, "Thank you for seeing me." Already far from the restaurant, neither of them suggested the night should end. Without needing to agree, they took the path to the Emerald Garden, with its softly lit trails and trees that stood like silent sentinels. They walked side by side at a slow pace. It was in that space between words that true closeness was built, in the realm of the unspoken. "You know," he began, his eyes fixed on the gravel path ahead, "I've achieved a lot. Hotels in 3 countries, a name that carries weight in the market. But sometimes I wonder if I was ever truly seen. Not as a leader, not as the successful man, but as a person in my essence." Elara stopped, turning slightly towards him. "I know that feeling," she said softly. "Sometimes I try so hard. I'm strong at all times. I function like a machine, and no one notices the difficulty of sustaining everything, of being there for Lyra, of starting each day without being sure if it's enough." They crossed an ancient bridge. The water flowed peacefully beneath their feet. He asked what it was like to live with a child who doesn't communicate verbally. "It's a silent world, but never empty," she replied. "Lyra loves in her own way. Not with her voice, but with gestures, with silence itself. I learned to speak that language, and I also learned that family is not just what you inherited, but rather what you build and offer, every day." Only the rustling of the wind in the leaves broke the silence. "And you? Did you dream of having a family?" she asked. He hesitated for an instant. "Before, I thought there was no time, that I needed to build my legacy first. Now I wonder if that wasn't exactly why I felt so empty." Her gaze was gentle and clear. "It's never too late to start something new. Sometimes true courage emerges when we can share it." They sat on a wooden bench in the soft shade of 2 linden trees. Their shoulders barely touched, a discreet but sufficient warmth. "I have no idea where this will lead us," he confessed. "But I know that, by your side, I don't feel the need to hide." She smiled lightly. "I don't know either, but I feel an immense desire to find out." His gaze sought hers, without any trace of demand. "May I kiss you?" An almost imperceptible nod. The kiss was calm, thoughtful, a little shy, and profoundly clear. not the beginning of overwhelming passion, but of quietude, respect, and mutual hope. As they pulled apart, their foreheads still lightly touching, they knew they had taken a step forward together. Lumiere City was in full bloom. The chestnut trees displayed a vibrant green. The sunlight was soft and golden. It was one of those days when even the city's hum sounded like a harmonious soundtrack. On the terrace of the newly opened Grand Éclat Hotel de Paris, Elara rested her arms on the elegant wrought iron railing and contemplated the view. The dome of the Royal Palace of Solstice, the imposing towers of Lumiere Cathedral, the winding ribbon of the Celeste River, a landscape that whispered about the constant fluidity of life. The inauguration party buzzed behind her. Waiters glided with silver trays, conversations mingled in various languages, and the soft clinking of glasses resonated. But Elara was in another universe, both in her mind and in her body. Today was not just the opening of a grand hotel. Today she had discovered that her life would change again, and profoundly. 2 lines on the test, 2 new paths, 2 tiny hearts beating within her. The discovery had come in the morning when she was alone in the elegant bathroom of the suite, bathed in the faint dawn light that highlighted the marble and mirrors. The pregnancy test rested in the corner of the sink. She tried to regulate her breathing. As she saw the second line appear, the world seemed to hold its breath. And then tears came, not of apprehension, but of profound awe and gratitude. Soft footsteps approached from behind. She didn't turn around. Only when she felt the comforting warmth of Mr. Valerius's presence and the scent that was already familiar to her. "I needed a bit of air. Here, it feels like you can breathe better," she murmured. He positioned himself beside her and sought her gaze. "I was looking for you. Everyone at the event is asking about you, but I imagined you were exactly where you needed to be." Elara was silent for a moment, took his hand and gently guided it to her own belly. "We're having twins." His reaction was one of eloquent silence, a smile that radiated across his entire face, his forehead softly resting against hers. "It's the most beautiful news I've ever received in my entire life." The kiss came, unhurried, laden with the depth of someone who understands the magnitude and miracle of the moment. Then he laughed softly. "My desire was to expand my empire to the city of Lumiere, but I realized that, in fact, I found my true home here." The rest of the night flowed with toasts, warm hugs, and emotional speeches. And, behind all the celebration, something even more significant was consolidating: the truth. Mr. Valerius discreetly held Elara's hand when no one was watching, or supported her back as they walked through the imposing halls. Later, as the party wound down, they returned to the terrace. The sky was tinged with soft pink. The rooftops of the city of Lumiere twinkled under the last lights of the day, like a knowing wink between them and the world. "You know," Mr. Valerius said, without diverting his gaze from the urban landscape, "I planned every detail, made meticulous calculations, built grandiose hotels. But I didn't foresee you arriving." Elara rested her head on his shoulder. "And I imagined I would just be answering a routine phone call." They left together, without formalities, just the serene joy of those who understand that, finally, they were in the right place at the exact moment of their lives. In the distance, a church bell echoed. The wind carried the sweet scent of spring and a nearby patisserie. Elara placed her hand on her belly. 2 small hearts, 2 new paths blossoming, and a home they had both chosen to build. Mr. Valerius looked at her with affection. "It's just the beginning." And she believed, not because of his words, but because finally, that was exactly how she felt. True, complete, deeply loved.